Perfect. Thank you so much for the clarification that my voice is clear and everything is good. Okay, thank you so much. And once again, welcome back to Naveen Automation Labs, guys. Today, we have one important topic on API security testing, which is something very different, very unique for the non-functional testing point of view. We always focus upon the functional testing. We write our functional test cases either through automation, execute it, and then run the test cases through Selenium, Playwright, or Cypress, or various automation functional tools that we are using it. But we don't think much about the non-secure, non-performance testing like security testing or penetration testing or any specific performance testing that really want to explore in that area. So especially for the security testing point of view, the major problems in the backend, major problem in the API, your microservices, your the complete backend architecture, what is happening over there, if any attacks or any vulnerabilities are there, we don't focus much. Why? Because we have no idea which tool and then which technology or which license or non-license or free tool which are available, because we don't have any skill set, we don't have any expertise also on that particular tool. So it's very, very important to understand, and then it's a QA responsibility to highlight those issues as well, which are having some major issues with respect to penetration or vulnerability or security testing point of view. We should know that where exactly we can focus. And then I'm telling you that you can save some amazing issues, and then a good quality product you can deliver to the customer. So that's what that we have introduced. I mean, not I have introduced. There is a dedicated team working with the Postman, and then the tool name is Pynt, and amazing tool. I have already explored it. I have already taken the demo. That's what like it was motivation for me also, that so that I can promote and then I can showcase this to you guys as well. And the team is amazingly great. They are very active community and now exploring and adding a lot of good things, having some amazing background in the security testing. So let me introduce the CTO of Pynt, Mr. Ori Goldberg. Hi Ori, can you
Hey, hi
hear me?
Naveen.
Welcome
Nice
to
to hear you.
welcome to YouTube Live, and I'm sure this is the first YouTube Live for you.
Yeah, it is. Haven't done it yet.
Great,
I believe it'll be the
great.
first among many, but probably.
So
So it's honor to be here in the first time now.
thank you so much. Like, thank you so much, because this is something we really want to learn and really want to implement in our real-time projects also. And there are a lot of people, they really want to know about this tool and really want to explore in that area, like, especially with the security testing. What are our different best practices that we have to follow? How exactly we can improve the testing in this particular area? So this is something very interesting, very, very good thing that we can implement for the testing point of view, and especially with the non-functional testing point of view, so that we can focus on both functional as well as non-functional. So I just want to know that what is the motivation behind that? Why did you start Pynt and your team, and you, how did you think about it?
So, so I'm my experience. I'm in 16 years in tech world, doing software development for like 16 years. Half of it is in the security world. And in 2014, I started working in the automotive cybersecurity, which is totally different from API testing, but it was very very exciting field at that time. And basically, what we did is we harmed vehicles. In the name of science, we tried to find vulnerabilities in vehicles. It wasn't that difficult back then because vehicles were totally not in the domain of security. They were just introducing software that's something very new for them, so they couldn't even understand how to implement security. And this is where we came and helped them. But 4 years ago, we started to look more into the cloud, into APIs, and what we've seen there, and really surprised us in how APIs that are deployed are never tested for security. And this is where we got the idea to start a new company around that area, and to provide tools that will make security testing simple for everyone, and for the developers, for the testers, not just for the security people. There are plenty of tools for security people. They're super complicated, not easy to use. So we wanted to create something new in API security for developers and testers. And so
Great,
this is what got us here today. And
great.
And it's very good for, on your channel. I really like your channel, the fact that you're covering all the whole fields of automation. Okay, from super technical stuff to to interview questions, which is very important, and simulations about interviews. And I think starting to talk about security, but also it's really good for this community.
Yeah, absolutely great, because whatever the experience that I have seen in the industry from last 1 decade, and then I've seen that majority of the people, they are really good in the functional testing part, but they are lacking behind in the non-functional part, especially the security, static, dynamic analysis, where exactly the issue. And the moment, what exactly we have the culture in most of the companies, that whenever the security testing, management is asking to us, and then we always try to outsource to some other company. We don't focus because we don't have much resources available, and then we think that, okay, no, security testing is something very different, and it takes a different kind of tool set, or different kind of knowledge, or a skill set is required. And we don't have very simple, very straightforward tools are available in the market. We have to do a lot of setup for that, and we really need to know in-depth knowledge about the different compliances and different other standards and protocols as well. So uh, how exactly, like, the can you please tell me about the Pynt as well, in a very nutshell, that in a very simple term, that what exactly Pynt is doing here in this area?
Yeah. So Pynt is a new product that is allowing you to run API security testing in Postman based on your existing functional test collection. And what is really guiding us, and we'll talk about this later, but what is really guiding us here, we know the developers and testers are super busy, and they don't have time to learn and to get more domain knowledge about security. They want a security tool that can just run easily and get results, very, very explained results, and they don't need any security engineers in this loop. So we're building Pynt for that. So to make it very accessible and very simple for everyone, and we're emphasizing that. So you can see, we'll see to show it on the demo better. You'll be able to see how simple it is to run it.
Exactly. I'm not sure, maybe you must have also faced the same problem from the management, because they don't have many much budget on the security testing, and they don't understand the philosophy of the security testing as well. Because
Mhm.
whenever we try to introduce security testing to the management, they say that, okay, no, we will take care about security testing later on. Just focus on the functional testing part.
Exactly, because it's complicated. Security testing is complicated. You need to understand what you're doing to use the current security tools, and we know developers won't do it because they don't have the experience to do it, and we don't expect them actually to start learning now security, because they need to be experts in their fields, and not to just go learn security.
Correct, correct. And in fact, especially in the agile world, where everything is moving towards the shift left testing, and then we really want that before moving to the production, everything we really want to move it to the left side, so that more and more things that we do before releasing it to the production. I think that's also a very good value addition if we perform the security testing in advance.
Shift left is a great idea, but it's not very easy to implement, and we still don't see it happen in the quantities that we want to see it, because there's the main thing of responsibility here. I mean, who's responsible for security of the code, or API security? Is it the developer? Is it the tester? Or is it the security team? And what's happening currently in organization is that R&D are developing amazing products, but they don't focus on security because they believe someone else along the way will do the security. But we know that in most cases it doesn't happen, because security teams are super busy with other stuff, and they don't have time to run security testing on the API. And what's happening is that products are deployed without any testing at all. And as you know, and as I know your viewers probably know, if you not test something, then it's probably broken. And this is why we see many attacks around the APIs, and it's growing. And we need better tools to make shift left happen. We need better tools for developers and testers. Simple tools, things that they can operate easily, understand the results, and not understand security at all.
Yeah, the latest example we can see the last year Log4j API, which was a big blunder, happened with the Log4j, and then
Yeah, but
some.
it was there for a long time. It's an open source that someone contributed a long time ago. It was there all along. It just discovered recently. But can complain to the developer. He contributed an open source product which everybody used. It's not, if you had better security testing, maybe you could find this issue long ago. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, right. So without wasting our time, so stage is yours. We would really want to know about Pynt, more about it, and then more features about it, what exactly it is doing, how exactly it is doing, and then if you can give us a demo also, that would be great to the
Yeah,
audience.
awesome. Thank you very much. We just
And guys, you feel free to ask the question in the comment section. We will take the question in between if something very very important, and then at the end we will try to take all the questions. Yeah.
sure. So I'll start with your few slides about what is the background and why we need to do API security testing at all. Then I'll explain more about the Pynt, and then we go to demo to show how the product works. So,
Sure.
so API security is not something new. I mean, why it's such an issue? We hear about it a lot recently. It's not something new. APIs have been here like forever, many years from now. But on the recent years, there was an explosion in the number of APIs going online. Maybe thanks to COVID, not sure, but it started even before COVID. But many organizations are moving their services to be online. Lots of new cloud application and services are coming daily. And of course, when the number of API is growing, the number of attacks is growing as well. And we have some. This is like a famous example we can see here of like Facebook and Peloton and Cassia. And Cassia was a very sophisticated attack. Started with the APIs, caused lots of ransomwares across the United States, and like I said before, it's because development teams are rushing to deployment. They're rushing to deploy. We want the product with all the features online as fast as possible. We're not stopping to check for security because somebody will probably test it. We know it's not happening. Cybersecurity industry is lacking. There's a global shortage of security experts. Very, very difficult to find one today. And so what's happening is applications go online without any testing at all. I'll explain a bit which API issues we're talking about. So OWASP is maintaining a list of the top 10 API security issues, like the most vulnerable API, most common API vulnerabilities found. This is from 2019. They're working on a new one. OWASP, if you don't know, it's a foundation that has many projects around cybersecurity, like many tools for pen testers and application security engineers, lots of documentation, and lots of very good projects around cybersecurity. And they're maintaining this list of common vulnerabilities. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to now drill down into all of these. There are very good explanation here. There are very good articles online about that. But most of these issues mainly are bugs in the code, bugs that developers introduced, that they have a function that is working great functionality-wise, but it's written in an unsecured manner, and it allows the bad guys to attack. Not going to explain all of it, but let's say, okay, there are some issues here in the family of input validation, okay? Input sanitation, parameters arriving from HTTP requests are taken directly and placed inside a query, if it's a database query, a command, an OS shell command. And this allows, of course, for attackers to attack and to inject payloads in here. This is like SQL injection. I think everybody knows about SQL injection, and it's amazing that it's still the most common vulnerability found today. SQL injection means people are not sanitizing their inputs and not using the safe query functions of their language. And these are just a few examples for that. And this list is also the guideline that we at Pynt do to develop our product. We look for most of these issues, and it's very interesting. Do we want every tester and developer in the world to know about this? Yeah, sure. It would be great if everyone know about that. But we know it won't happen, right? I mean, we can't expect everyone to learn security at all. So we need to provide tools that will do all these checks and to make them easier and accessible. So let's go back to the slide. So if we know these are bugs, and we know that the best place to solve bugs is right when they were developed, it's the fastest and cheapest way. We call that shift left. I mean, shifting the security testing left, okay, to do it in as close as possible to development, and not doing it right on the production side. So shift left is a great idea. I mean, because everybody will agree that if the R&D team will deliver a very secure product, and everybody's happy. There's less friction between security teams and the R&D, and R&D is developing faster. There are no interrupts from the security team. Security team themselves are much happier because they know that R&D is taking care and taking the responsibility of security, and the product will be much more secure than they can do all the other stuff that they're doing. And it all will have much less security incidents, which is what everybody wants, right? Maybe except for the bad guys, but we all want less security incidents to happen. And so shift left sounds a great idea. Which tools R&D teams can use today? Well, in application security, there are mainly like three groups of tools. We have SCA, the software composition analysis tools. These are tools that check your open source libraries if they have any known vulnerabilities. We have static scan tools that are looking at your source code, analyzing the source code, and trying to look for security issues there. And we have dynamic scan tools, which are actually creating requests against the target application that we're testing. And according to the results, they tell you if there's a vulnerability or not.
Yeah, so that's very important to understand because most of the people, they just focus on the static analysis. That too also done by the developers, or maybe some people, they do the white box testing with some tools are available in the market like Sonar Cube or something, and they will give you some static vulnerabilities. But as such, for the dynamic vulnerabilities point of view, where we are hitting the external servers or external APIs, and from there some bad payload is coming or something, we don't test that. Actually, we don't focus much on that area as well.
Right. So SCA and static tools are doing. There are better tools that are adapting for shift left in recent years, but the dynamic field is it's a bit neglected here. And so, as I said before, what is stopping shift left and not making it happen today is the responsibility issue. In the current situation today, a developer is not responsible for the security of the code he's writing, and that doesn't make sense, right? I mean, if I'm writing a developer, I'm writing a line of code that is injectable, and some other guy in the corporate office 5 floors up, he's responsible for the security of this line of code. Doesn't make sense. I mean, it can't be that the security team will be in charge of lines of code the developers write. It just doesn't make sense. It's like, as a developer, you need to write unit tests, right? It doesn't make sense that the corporate building 8 floors up, there will be a unit test team that will create unit tests for my functions, right? As a developer, I'm responsible to write code, to have unit tests, and also to know that I didn't introduce any security issue. Okay, so there's a lot of responsibility that is in charge here. If you are not responsible for something, that you probably won't do it. And this is why we don't see developers that are doing it, because they're not responsible for that. And DevOps, well, it's very good to incorporate tools that will do into the pipeline, like the Jenkins or whatever pipeline that you're using. That's very good, but the DevOps cannot be responsible for that. It's still the developer and the tester need to take the responsibility for the security. The DevOps is good that it's using those tools in every commit or every pull request or on a nightly build, but still the responsibility need to be on the side of the developers and the testers. I mean, testers today, as you said, they're focusing on functional testing. They're not required to do security testing. Some groups, some companies, the QA teams are doing security testing, but most of them we don't see that not doing this at all. But also, we can't tell anyone, okay, You're a developer, you're not responsible for security of your code, but if you don't give him the tools to do it, then he can't do it. I mean, you can't expect him to go and have 5 years of experience in security, and then come back and start to test his code for security. So we need to provide better tools, to be very accessible for R&D teams.
So it is. So what is your motivation behind that? It's more of a developer-centric tool, or testers also can learn and can contribute with this tool?
Well, it's for both. It's for developers and testers. We want it to be, this is the main audience that we are targeting with our tool. The usage is, we started with Postman, which more appeals to testers. But on next, we'll advance into more to IDEs, to extensions to IDEs like VS Code and things like that will more appeal for developers. But I think developers and testers need to have the ability to run security tests easily.
So do I need to use any specific programming language to learn to use this tool, or it's like I don't need to use any code or anything, just start using in Postman?
Exactly. We want it to be simple as possible. Just like you're running your functional test from Postman, you do the same thing and run security test. This is what we're doing in Pynt. This is the guidelines. So when we're building Pynt, we think about that. Okay, we want to create automatic dynamic security test cases from functional tests. We know that you have functional tests. We take the data, take the traffic from that, and build on top of that. We're integrating into existing API testing tools. We started with Postman. You may have heard of Postman, right? Super popular tool. And Postman is very popular, and I think because it made API testing very accessible for everyone. I mean, everyone knows Postman because whenever they needed to write a request and see a response, and Postman just make it so easy and so accessible that lots of people use that. And we want to do the same with API security on top of Postman. We know that the security tool needs to run fast and give accurate results. I mean, fast, I mean, a few minutes. Accurate results mean we really need to be sure of a finding before we show it to the user, because if we have too many false positives, then we're just slowing the development, the testing, and making the user to waste time understanding if there's a false positive or not. So we really want to have real findings and to report only on things that we're 100% certain of. We don't have configuration. We know that, okay, if I'm a developer and I'm responsible for security and need to run Pynt, I'm not going to have to fill a configuration file explaining the tool, all the endpoints and the parameters, and this is a token, this is a registration, this is a login function. We're not doing that. Pynt is doing it all. We have an analysis phase of the scan that is extracting all this feature from the traffic of the functional test and understand it all automatically. So you don't need to configure anything. We have very clear results, so developers can understand easily the results and understand what they need to fix. We're not exposed to source code. We don't see your source code. We can tell you that on this file, on this specific line of code, you had an issue, but we tell everything that we know as a black box testers, that we just, what is the request, what we did, on which endpoint, and which parameter we believe there is a problem. And we are community driven. Pynt has it's a community version. We want everybody to use it. We want the feedback, because every feedback makes Pynt better.
Yeah, so that's what, like, before we move further, because this is the evergreen question I always get, that is it a paid tool or we have to pay anything for that?
No, Pynt will stay community. They'll stay in a community version like that forever. We will have an enterprise version for enterprises that will answer organizations' needs, like reports and for management reports and controlling for the manager to see what the testers did, like a central dashboard. You can see which tester ran any tool. But these are corporate features. For the user, it will remain free.
It's absolutely free, just like we use the Postman community version.
Exactly, just like Postman.
Okay.
Exactly the same model of Postman.
Yeah, so I can see a couple of questions that from Sanket and all these people are asking that, do I need to pay? So guys, it's absolutely free to use. Just the inbuilt feature of available inbuilt in Postman itself. So you don't need any specific thing to do that, and then just start using it. So I think, yeah, we will see a demo also from Ori very soon. So
Yeah.
please go ahead. Yeah.
Let's go for the demo, just a second.
Okay. So I'm adding you the, okay. So just
Okay.
want to, guys, can you see Ori's screen clearly? Yeah, it's perfect. So just increase the font size. If that will be a little bit, that'll be great. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Awesome. So I'll start with our website, and we have the link right in the description. And we'll start the setup from Postman. This is the Pynt workspace. And first thing we need to do is to fork the Pynt collection. Okay, once you fork it, it will appear in your Postman. Okay, so once I fork it, I can see it in Postman. So this is the collection that I forked from Postman, and this is the collection that we'll use to do the security testing. And we need to configure just two simple configurations here. One, we need to provide an API key. Okay, and the description tells exactly how to get it. This is Postman API key, very simple to get. Let me just show. Just create a new API key with Postman, and then just copy it into the Pynt collection.
Or you just increase the font size then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Something like that. So we need the API key. We need to tell him which collection we want to test, and we're going to soon talk about that. And we need to run the Pynt Docker. Okay, Pynt is its on premise. Okay, there's all the scanning job is done on your in your environment. Okay, you just run our container. It's always updated because you run it with the pull always. So just need to have Docker. In this case, it's a Docker engine of Linux. It can also work with the Docker desktop if you're using Mac or Windows. So just run our container, configure the collection to test, API key, and that's it. So this collection that I'm showing here, this is a functional test collection. It is running as the target that I have online. We call it GOAT. And it's just very simple, okay? We have a login function, something that it gets the account of the user, something that...
Sorry to interrupt you, but can you please increase the font size in Postman also?
If it's possible by Postman.
I think it's possible. Just press Command ++ and...
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, great. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. So simple for requests and like a simple functional test of a normal application. Now to do the security scan, I just need to run the Pynt collection. Okay. And what's happening now is Postman, the Pynt collection is telling the Pynt container to start run against the GOAT1 collection. And we start by running the collection, the functional test collection ourselves. We record the traffic, and then we do the analysis phase on the traffic. The analysis means extracting all the information we need for the attacks to be very accurate. Okay, we understand which is the logging functions, what is the authentication token, which parameter is doing what. I mean, what are resource IDs, what are user IDs, with extracting features like PII, emails, credit cards, these things. Then this analysis is moving to the attack engine. The attack engine is attacking the target. This is what's happening currently in the background. Sending requests against the target, analyzing the response, and this is the tricky part, to understand from the response if there was an attack or not, some attacks, some test cases will have a couple of steps because maybe we have a first stage of attack that will give us a hint that there's something there. Then we'll try to add we'll attack more with more different payloads into that endpoint until we are 100% sure that there is a vulnerability there. And all the results are being aggregated, and we'll see them in Postman in a minute. And the attacks are really focused. I mean, Pynt is not a fuzzer, okay? We're not just spraying payloads and randomizing payloads and attacking as a target, because this kind of testing takes a lot of time, and we can't allow for it to run too much. So we don't do fuzz, we do it really accurate, okay? We don't say we use millions of payloads, we just use maybe hundreds or a few thousands of payloads to do the testing, and it will soon finish. We can see the reports.
Okay, so will it check the internal APIs also? Like, say, one API is calling another API, and then there are thousands of microservices, and cascaded APIs are there, and any third-party API it is calling. So will you go in depth level at that level also, layer to layer APIs?
So currently we're attacking the scope is around the OWASP top 10. Okay, so we have like a category for each OWASP top 10. We're attacking on that. But we have so much more security features that we want to add that are much bigger than the OWASP top 10, and we'll probably not use that categorizing by OWASP top 10, because we have many cases that we want to use in the future. And in the end, I don't think that the user really needs to know what OWASP top 10, which issue was it, and how it is called in a security role. It's not very important for him. Just need to see how what are the problems. So it was finished, and we can see that we have some few vulnerabilities found, because this is a vulnerable app deliberately. We wrote it broken. We can see the results right here in Postman, and we can see the feedback, and we can also show a better report, okay, and an HTML generated report, and this shows much more information. So the most important is the feedback, okay? So we see that the traffic of the functional testing, we say, okay, we found 4 security issues in here. Please see the details. But we also see that your functional test included only one user, okay? So we recognize that only one user here. We suggest to add more users to your testing. We test with a couple of users, then we have much more accurate tests, especially in the business logic section, and we'll show it in a while. And also we identify the 4 requests, add more requests. Probably to test your application, you need to have much more than 4 requests. And the motivation here is if your functional testing will be better and will cover the entire application, our security testing will be better also. So it's like a win-win situation. You'll get better testing and better security tests.
Okay, so can you show me one example that from the result, any specific here, and then how to check that and how to convince a developer that, okay, yeah, that's a bug?
So let's talk about the finding. We have 2 findings around broken authentication. Means the JWT token that was used was not used as it should. For example, if you know Java Web Tokens, that you should hash it with some secret, and the attack found here that the token was hashed without any secret, so it could guess the token by itself. And we also have a case that there was no signature validation. Okay, this happens a lot. I mean, token is used. They check that the token exists, but they don't check if the token was if it is signed or not.
Mm-hmm.
We also have one case of stack tracing response. This is something that we really see a lot from our users. We don't want to give too much information outside. So especially on exceptions, people tend to ignore the exception, right, and just use what the framework is giving them. Mm-hmm. And we've seen many cases that lots of information, like debug information, is just shown on the responses, especially when you break stuff. So our attacks in this case are deliberately breaking stuff around about the form. We're breaking the JSON form, doing many format violations to trigger exceptions in your application. We see the responses back, and we see if there is any stack traces there.
Okay.
And we have a resource limiting vulnerability was found here. Okay, that we saw that used it in the functional testing. We have like 5 records and 15 records pulling, but we try to extract 1,000 records when it did quite it. So we're letting the user know that we were able to extract 1,000 records. Okay, and how to fix it? Limited resources. So every finding has an explanation that's supposed to be simple and understandable for the developer, and a call for action on how to fix it. Okay, so I don't want the user that have had this finding to go ask the security people what this means, because I think it's explaining very in a very developerish language what was the problem here. We also look at the security headers, and these are warnings. Okay, for example, this API did not use the cache control header at all, and so we alert on that. It is a warning, but to fix it, just need to configure a server to return those headers. So if you look back at the feedback, and Pynt asks, please add more users. So let's look at, I have another functional test for that application that does use 2 users. And I want to run against that now, just to see that if adding more users helping us to find more severe issues. So I just go back to Pynt, to the configuration, tell it to run against go2, save, very important, people forget to save, and run it. Again, we'll do the same thing now and run the analysis in the background. So meanwhile, while the scan is running, we also have around the CLI tool of Postman called Newman. We have a product of that which does the same thing, but with the Newman container. And this is the result already ran it before that, and just need to give it the collection, and it will do the same thing, but in CLI. So if you're using Newman today, so it's very easy, just start using this container as a Newman container, and you can use it in CI/CD. Of course, we also have a GitHub action that does the same thing, so you can easily connect it to your pipeline.
Okay, so I can integrate with any pipeline, either Jenkins or Azure or GitLab or Circle CI or.
Yeah. If you're on Jenkins, you can just take the container and run it like that. If you're using GitHub, so user action, it's much easier. And so for all testing that are done in CLI, this really helps. You just need to give it the collection and to run it. Okay, so let's see if.
So the precondition is, first of all, Docker should be up and running. I mean, the Pynt server should be up and running in the background. And I should have some functional test cases, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is the first thing. And then only that collection will be integrated with the Pynt.
Yeah.
Without functional test cases also, obviously we cannot do that, right?
Right, because we assume that everyone has functional testing, and if you don't have any functional testing, that maybe security is not your biggest concern. You need to test your application first to see if it's functioning as you should. Now, we know that many are testing with Postman. All of those that are testing with Python, with PyTest, will have a VS Code extension that will do the same thing around the Python test file. Just right-click on the file, run with Pynt, and you'll be able to see that. This is in development. We'll let you know once it's done.
Okay. And it really doesn't matter that my functional test cases are working or not. Let's see, some assertions are getting failed in my function. Some payload is missing or some ID is missing. So that is a functional part. So it won't impact my security test.
So if your functional testing are not working, and we see that they have too many assertions, or they're not reaching the target. Maybe the target is down, or the function testing does not have a token and we're not authorized at all. Then we alert on that, and and if it's really bad, when we don't run the scan, and we're letting you know in the feedback section, saying, hey, your function testing probably is not working. Fix it first, then run Pynt, because we really want to be able to reach inside, not just being stopped on the front row of the API. We want the requests that you are generating to get inside, to pass all authentication, and so we can check the authentication authorization and the writing to the database. It's really important for us. So if we only get 400s, okay, if we see that your function testing is getting 400, we won't run Pynt at all.
Okay. And can we, let's see, because some projects, what we do in real-time project, we create multiple collections, multiple APIs. So can we add multiple collections together and then run with the Pynt?
Well, you can currently run one collection per forked Pynt collection. As I shown before, it's very easy to replace the collection, but you can just fork another Pynt and configure it to run against the other collection, and you can just do as many as possible. So this the latest scan is done, and then we have 6 security issues found, and we don't have angry feedback saying we need more requests, because it was the good amount of requests that we want. And we found a business logic issue now, because we had another user here. We saw another user, so Pynt automatically understood which user is it, which user identifier and resource identifier every user is using, and then we did an attack that switched those resource IDs and user IDs, and we understood from the responses if we were able to get data. And the attack here, what it's doing, there's an authorization problem. It means there's a great authentication. Okay, user was authenticated against the server, but there was no authorization. It means nothing was doing a check if that user is allowed to get a specific resource. And this is also a very common vulnerability. It's a very severe vulnerability, which leads to to data breaches. If I, as a user, can log into a server and then access all the other users' data, and this is wrong, it happens a lot, especially with microservices, because now on microservices distributed approach, the authorization server need to be distributed along many microservices. So this is very common and very critical. So this is why we encourage users to give us more users, and in the future we want more users in different level of capabilities, like more admins or with lesser privileges and high privileges, maybe to make this attack even better.
Okay.
So that's it. I mean, you can just I really encourage you to start running today. You can also fork the goat collection from the Postman workspace, and to do the same yourself to see how easy and how super easy it is to run.
Okay. So yeah, in fact, I would ask everyone to start exploring it, because it's absolutely free of cost. You must be having Postman on your system, and add the Pynt with your connector.
Postman and a Docker, and Docker Engine or Docker Desktop, it will work with the same, just a different line to run if it's a Docker Desktop or Docker Engine. That's okay.
Right. So can you tell me what is the Docker image name?
About
the Pynt Docker image name.
Pynt Docker image name. It's all in the description of it's just Pynt Postman latest. When you see the collection, we have documentation that's explaining. It's right here. Explaining exactly how to run it, and you see everything. And these are the lines you need to run for Docker Desktop, and these are the lines you need to run for Docker Engine on Linux.
Okay, so the precondition is the Docker. I should have it, and then I just need to start the Pynt Docker engine. I mean,
Mhm.
container, and then that's it. And then after that, I add it to my collection, then start running it.
Mhm. Exactly.
Okay, so that's as simple as that. Great. Okay, so we can take some questions also. You want to talk, show something else on in the presentation?
So we said just run it yourself, see how easy it is, and take ownership on security testing. In the end, it's just security. I mean, it's not the feature of your product you're developing. You're probably developing a product is much more interesting than having it secured, and your product is probably doing amazing things. But the security testing is just something that needs to be done and cannot be ignored. It's just
Correct.
something that you need to verify that you've done and continue with development. And I think every time that you run your functional test, you should also run your security test, and invest in fixing those problems that Pynt finds, because they are important. And that's it. Just go on with your sprint, and subscribing up in our websites. We have, as you said, the badges coming soon, and we have more competitions around Pynt and finding vulnerabilities, all coming soon. So if
Great.
you
So
register, we're able to tell you about all those new stuff.
yeah, so guys, please start using it. I'm sharing one link also in the comment section, so you guys can start using this link and subscribe to Pynt. So the first, I think, 200, 300 users will start getting the special badge from the Pynt, and then you can subscribe to their newsletter also, the community version also. Then you can later on, you can connect with directly with the developers of Pynt if you are facing any specific issues or any specific thing
Yeah.
that you really want to be added in the Pynt. You can also just talk to the team. That's really great, and I think it's very very important that along with the functional testing part, you can concentrate on the security testing and you can contribute for the security testing. I think that is very much needed, especially in the shift left thing where we have many things to add before doing the production. Along with the automation, if you add the flavor of security testing, and the good thing is that it's inbuilt in Postman, so I don't need to go anywhere. I don't need to use any programming language or any specific tool or anything that I have to scan. And I think with the new man also, I can execute from the CLI. It can be integrated with any pipeline, and absolutely great to go that. And it's absolutely free of cost, so you don't need to pay anything for that as well. Okay, so we can take something from the comments, from the questions, guys. If you have any questions, we can take it one by one. So, okay, let me just take this one. Is Pynt collecting, storing test application API information? Because we are actually sharing the valid credentials to Pynt. Any risk associated with that?
Yeah, it's super valid questions. All we store is usage and what we understood of the API. That the values themselves, the values like tokens, API keys, we don't really care about it, because all we care about is trying to understand what is the API is doing. So we're more interested to know what we're keeping information about what is the endpoint, what is its role, what the parameters are doing, but we don't care about the values themselves. We only not want the structure. That's we're only saving that to build our model around that. No, we're not. We don't need actually the credentials themselves.
That's a good thing. It's like in your network only, in your on premises, and then absolutely it's your own thing. So the Docker is also running on your server, on your cloud. So I think there is no point of stealing the data, and
Mhm.
any information they are not stealing it. So yeah,
Yeah, we know that we don't want to have barriers for development teams to start working with us. We don't want the InfoSec team to start ask questions. We need to make it simple as possible. We want
yeah,
people to use it.
exactly. That's the most important thing. Okay, so Nitesh is asking if collection has multiple folders, then will it run on all the folders?
Yeah, currently we're running all the folders. Maybe in the future we'll give some way to just run a specific folder, but currently we run all the folders.
Okay. Then the next question, Subodh is saying any cost for man-in-middle attack network package management?
Well, because we're running against the staging environment, so I'm not sure we're doing that because this is more for like a production side of things. But we do check for security headers that are part of that. We will alert you about that. That's mainly what we're doing.
Okay. Then the Raksha is saying, can't we capture the API names that are fixed? I can see API 1, API 2, and so on, like exact API name.
Just show you, maybe just jump back to Postman. So just go away. So in here we can say that you see that this endpoint has failed. Okay, that the slash account endpoint API, the transaction API. So every error is showing the API endpoint that that has fallen, that has failed, and so in here we can see all the endpoints that we tested against.
Okay, yeah. So it will show you the complete endpoint. Yeah. Okay.
And in here I'm telling you exactly everything I have on every issue.
Okay. Then we have the next question from Tushar that in case your functional test has test data, let's say, which is coming from Excel or XML, can we still run that collection with Pynt?
Great question. Not yet. Not yet. If you having an external data source provided to Postman, so yeah, not yet, but we are able to get it in the future. Yeah.
Okay. So, Ori, like, do we have any something like some library are you going to provide in future so that I can use your maybe some npm package or any library I can use from Pynt and start writing my own security test by using your interfaces or methods provided by you?
It's a good idea to think about it, like about an SDK that will allow the developer to proactively writing tests, and also will have we're building Pynt in a way of for it to be configured for like attacks to be configured. We're thinking about like if I now want to add a specific attack that is covering my organization, like a special use case, then I will be able to provide some configuration about what the analysis needs to find and how the attack is going to look like. It just provide it to Pynt, and it will automatically add it to the automatic attacks. So yeah, we're really thinking about that. I think it's really valid that people want to add their own attacks and not just use the vanilla collection of attacks that are provided with Pynt. Yeah, definitely in the future.
Okay, some Kanan is saying that in the report that you showed, I can see all the tests are not running. Some are mentioned and not executed. Any reason?
A bit misleading, I understand. And this will be fixed. The maturity report is relatively new, and we didn't. It's not completed yet. So what we mean we're not executed? It means that, for example, let's look at the server-side request forgery. It means okay, we're looking for URLs in requests, and then we manipulate them and see if we can find like internal path or to force the URL to go to our external server. So it was not executed because there were no URLs in this collection. Now, the name is misleading. We'll change that. But not executed means we didn't have enough data from the functional traffic to create those attacks, because it's okay. Okay, if you didn't have URLs in your request, then it's okay. It's just you didn't have those. But it's misleading, and it will be changed in the future, definitely.
Yeah, it's slightly maybe confusing. Maybe we can change the name or status
Yeah,
later on.
what we meant is your collection does not need to have those tests.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, that's a good point. Are we prioritizing the failure test cases, which has to be addressed at the earliest? Like these are the like most P1 priority test cases. I mean, failures, which has to be addressed as soon as possible.
So I don't want to have another internal prioritization. I mean, the error findings are all important. Okay, if it wasn't important, it would be as a warning. Okay, but errors, there are findings that need to be fixed. Of course, for enterprise version, for CISO, for security teams, we have the whole risk tables and likelihood and all those stuff. But developer doesn't care about that. Just tell them this is an error you need to fix. This is a warning that you should fix, and that's it. I don't want to have many levels of prioritization, like on static tools. We have like a zillion of findings. and have like 1 to 10 or 1 to 5 categories, and so everybody say, okay, we just fixed the reddest the findings that we had, and all the rest are never addressed. So we know, we understand that you're busy. We won't bug you for findings that you don't need to fix. Okay.
Yeah, that they really need a reason behind just to ignore the bug because it's not that important. It's P5 issue or let's ignore that. But I think for security point of view, everything is important. Every bug is important.
Yeah, we'll just we'll report on your interesting findings. We won't waste your time.
So does this also give recommendation for using vault keys?
No, we're not doing that. Vault keys. We don't. We will alert on PII. Okay, if we see keys in responses, things like that. Okay.
Okay. So to analyze the result, I think that's a good question. For a tester needs to have a security testing knowledge. Will it help the functional tester to understand the security vulnerabilities?
First of all, yeah, sure. Everything that you know will help you in the future. But no, I'm writing the requirements for writing our findings is to be for a developer to be able to understand them. And as a tester, you can just copy it and open a ticket in a developer, but you can understand it yourself because I'm giving just share. I give as much information as possible. Okay, so example on this business logic issue that we've shown before. So I'm telling you there's no authorization, a resource identifier called user ID in endpoint transactions, and explaining him that the login user was able to read the data from resource, that resource ID, and from analysis, this resource is not permitted for the logged in user. So if a developer gets that, and we tell you how to fix it, and we verify that the logged in user is allowed to read the resource identifier user ID provided in transaction. I mean, it's as clear as possible, and the developer that wrote this API should be able to understand where did it go wrong. Again, we don't see the source code, so we don't want to see the source code because it's another barrier, okay, and don't want the developer now to give us access to his repo or something like that.
Okay.
This is all information that we give, and from your feedbacks, we can get it better, okay? If you think it's too complicated, if you're not understanding, we'll be happy to hear from you.
Sure. So one more thing. Okay. So Pynt is storing any data from functional test case somewhere outside of Postman.
So no, what we're keeping is only the structure and the model that we understood. We don't care about the value.
Okay. Okay. So let me take. So Simon is saying, does it support security testing for two-factor authentication as well?
So if your functional testing had acquired the token that is used later, then we can use it. If your functional testing is not doing the two-factor authentication itself, probably has some API key, like a already ready API key or something like that. So if your functional testing is able to run against the target, so we'll be able to do the same. And we'll take that token that you got from the 2FA process, and we'll use that on the requests.
Okay. I think that's a good question the part is asking. If a JWT token got expired and the API does not have that validation implemented, will Pynt show in the result that JWT token has expired or invalid?
Yeah, if it's part of the claim, the issue at and the expire, yeah, we'll show about that.
Okay. So, okay, just Monish is saying I just finished run with the Pynt and it's getting below error. Maybe we can check that later. Server encountered internal and could not proceed.
Yeah, of course, we can look at that.
Okay.
Not have it a support session, but yeah, sure. Please, we have the support link. I think we'll have it on the description, and yeah.
Okay, sure. Just a suggestion, grouping the failure by API endpoints would be more clear when you look at it. We may have thousands of API. I think that's a valid suggestion actually.
It's like a ticket on my backlog.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, thanks
What
for
I
sharing.
want. Exactly.
Can we do pen testing using Pynt?
Well, you can, but if you're trying to attack a production environment, then of course production environments usually use some protection mechanism like WAFs, web application firewalls, and Pynt attacks are not trying to. Of course, an attacker can bypass WAF. It's not very solid, but Pynt does not currently have evasive techniques on the attacks. Okay, because we're assuming running against a test environment, a staging environment, or a feature environment, whatever. And so we don't try to evade those WAFs. So you might still have an issue, but Pynt attacks are very clear for the WAF to find. And if you disable the WAF, so yeah, it might work. But
Okay.
you can try. Or you can do the penetration testing on the staging environment. And yeah, for sure.
So do we have any documentation or some pre-recorded videos for this tool? How to
Uh,
set up?
yeah, we have a video on our site explaining how to run it. And our site should have all documentation. We have the GitHub and the Postman. I think Postman workspace have all the needed documentation.
Okay. So Dheeraj is also asking that we run our API automation test built on Postman using Newman on Azure pipeline. Is there any way it posts the result in some form of dashboard in Azure?
In the future, yeah. Currently, just outputting as a CLI or as a JSON file. But yeah, we understand that we'll have to integrate with various dashboards in the future. Currently, just get the results JSON file and use that. But we will integrate with the popular dashboards in the future. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a great addition. Yeah. Okay. How to generate report in descriptive format? Like if you can show some request and response in the security issue details. So maybe request and response payload also if you can show, or headers or any cookies information for that API.
Definitely. Two things here. We'll have in the future more detailed information about our request and response for a specific attack. And beside it, give on every finding, we'll give the a CRL, a curl command, so you can reproduce it yourself. These are two things we're going to do. Yeah.
Okay. And any limitation for the API call using this tool?
No limitation.
And it's always sequential execution, right? The way you have written the test cases, one by one, it will check, not something in the parallel mode or something.
Sorry, not checked.
So it will always check all the test cases in the sequential execution, right? Not in the parallel execution. That. Okay, yeah, everything, because the parallel execution does not make any sense. It's always like for the security test, one by one, it will check. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me take other questions if we have. Guys, feel free to ask any question. So Simon is saying, hope to have good time with Pynt Security Testing World. Thanks, Pynt team, for your hard work in making our life easy. So yep, Simon, that's feedback.
Thank you.
Okay, so nice. So
Thank you for listening and for asking all those questions. Really valid questions.
yeah, absolutely great questions. Right now, I'm able to save report manually in HTML format from Postman. Is there any other way to get the report?
Yeah, Postman is a great tool, but it's very limiting on the. You see, there's no extensions to Postman, and we able to find a way to do an extension to Postman. We're using Postman in ways, but not very friendly in terms of that. Once we have the VS Code, the extension outside will be much better, but Postman is a bit problematic. Yeah, I can only do what Postman allows me to do. I really want to have like an external link to open from that report, like an external link that will take us to open in the browser, in the Chrome browser. But Postman is not doing that. So yeah, maybe they'll listen to us and enable those, because the visualize feature is good for Postman. I think it's a bit a bit neglecting that and not investing it enough. It's a good feature. It can be really helpful.
Yeah, yeah. So, can you maintain the history of the reports as well? Like, what happened in the previous execution, the next execution, or last five execution reports?
Currently, we're not keeping history, okay,
Hmm.
but yeah, it's something that we understand we'll need to have. The enterprise version, of course, will keep history of all of the runs. We need to see
Okay.
how we can make it accessible within Postman. Again, that the Postman environment is limiting. Of course, we
Hmm.
can do it, but how UX wise will able to give the user the ability to see his previous scans. Good
Okay.
question.
And it's, absolutely for the API security test, nothing from the client side, from the browser side, or from the mobile side or devices side.
Mm. It is-
Like my question is, Pynt is only for the backend side, from the API testing side, not from the browser side. Or do
No,
we have in the
it's
future?
the line testing. This is just for backend testing. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, thank you, Pine, for your great value added for
Yeah.
feature.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you for listening and for asking those questions.
Is any way to fetch security report in Newman report?
Well, currently, when we run the Newman, we run both the functional and so we
Yes.
see the functional results and then the security results.
So yeah, it is actually doing it. In the Newman console, you will see the security as well as your functional report both.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, so that's a good thing that yeah, we started with API issues, but we'll extend to web soon. Okay, that's good that as such again from the website also from the browser side also we can extend this Pine to that level as well. That will be
Mhm.
okay. So any other question, guys? Feel free to ask. Once again, I'll tell that. Okay, we can take this one also. Can we use Newman email extra reporter for Pine reporting?
Yeah, I want to. That's not yet, but yeah, I want to have combining both reports into the once they're using the HTML. And talking about HTML extra, which is much better than the normal HTML reporter. Yeah, we need to see how we can add our log into the HTML extra reporter, which is very good job, and this reporter much better than what
Mhm.
Newman is.
Okay. So I have a couple of things like what is the future plan? Like what is pending and then what are new things that you are going to implement in next couple of quarters and then what are new things we can see from
So
Pine?
definitely our report will be prettier. It needs to be much fancier and have much more information, including the technical details. Everyone is asking, okay, I have the findings. I want to see the details themselves. So this is upcoming, and also people want to know, okay, which tests were passed. Okay, not don't just show me what failed, and show me what was okay, because if the test was okay, we want to tell the user that, okay, you have this point, you did it secured. And as I said, the VS Code is coming next, the VS Code extension.
Hmm.
Uh, so we'll cover all those Python and PyTest users as well. And in Postman, I think whatever, Postman maybe has a few changes to the visualize engine and we can have much more features in there because there is a good value in keeping it all in Postman. I think our user are getting the feedback that it's great that they stay inside Postman. They don't need another tool or another website, another dashboard. They really like that they're staying inside Postman, and we'll have many requests to Postman to allow us to have more features there
Hmm.
because like an extension, like VS Code has extensions, so we built an extension on Postman to make Postman a bit more friendly for these types of integration.
Okay. Yeah. So that's my question also. Manish is asking, can we have more coverage apart from OWSF top 10
Yeah,
vulnerability?
definitely. I have a full backlog of more than OWASP top 10, and as I said, I don't really like the OWASP top 10 categorization, and the next report will have the OWASP top 10, as a label for a test, but it will not be the main um, categories that we order our attacks.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So if you can create some mechanism of sending security issues report email to the tester email ID.
Yeah,
They must
we
have.
have email, we have Jira, we have Slack, definitely.
Okay,
Yeah.
great, great, great. So we have Selectors Hub also. Thanks, Sanjay, for joining. Very informative and great session. So yeah, thank you. So
Thank you.
guys, if you have any other questions, connect to Ori and the Pine team. They are like very quick, very supportive, and you can join their community Slack channel also. So they will provide you the link. You just need to register with their newsletter so that if any future updates or any new things or new releases are happening with Pint, they will give that information. They will provide that information to you, and then you can just subscribe from this link that I've already sent. The same link I'll be giving in the first comment section and as well as in the description of the video. Also, you can find it later on. And yeah, so feel free to ask the question if you have any feedback or any improvement or any enhancement. I think the team is, I think, absolutely ready to take your feedback, and then definitely will try to make more and more stable features with Pint in future.
Feedback really helps, and all those questions were really valid and excellent questions. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's really good to know. And then I would advise all of you that please start using this tool because it's first of all it's there in the Pint. Sorry, it's there in the Postman itself, and then these days everybody is using Postman. Like Postman is the most important tool these days. Every tester is having or every developer is having in their in their system. And then start using it. You don't need to do any extra stuff. Just start the Docker engine server and then add it with the collection and then start using it and try to analyze the result and show that result to the management, to the developers, that these are the security bugs that this tool is finding. And I'm pretty much sure that you can add a lot of good value addition in your pipeline, in your left shift testing also, and then you can add absolutely absolutely secured product as well. Great. So I think that's a great thing. Thank you so much. So
Thank
yeah, we are
you.
getting good feedback.
Thanks to all the viewers. Thank you, Naveen. It was really great. Hope to see you again once I have all those features. We come and
Yeah,
update all the features that you asked for once they're ready. Yeah, love to show
correct.
to you.
Absolutely. And that's really great. So just only one thing, can you show that website once again where people has to register for the newsletter at the bottom of the page, right?
Mhm. It's right
Yeah.
there, but the giant pint of beer. It's right on the bottom of the screen.
Great. So just guys come here and then add your email ID and just simply click on subscribe to our newsletter. So they will publish the batch to you, and then they will provide all future information about that to your email ID directly. That's
Yes.
great. And then if you definitely, we will come more YouTube live in future whenever you have some big releases or big things with respect to
Yeah.
Python features or new things that you guys have implemented. Definitely, we will try to showcase to the community as well.
Yeah. One more thing. If any of you had a slight uneasiness when you saw that I'm the API key that I provided in Postman, and if anyone said he just put an API key on YouTube, so first of all, it was partially hidden, and I'm revoking it right now. But if you had that sense, that's good. Okay, that's a good feeling. It means you have some security awareness. Yeah, API keys should not be publicly displayed like that. Have the security awareness. Really help you as testers and developers.
Great, exactly. So Simon is also saying we were killed by a pen tester by finding security bugs. Hope we can use it internally and save a life.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
No, do it yourself. Take ownership. Do it yourself. Don't wait for the pen tester. Exactly.
Yeah, Monish, that's absolutely the main criteria and the main motivation that putting some more efforts on the non-functional testing area as well. More focus on security, pen testing, and the performance testing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think management also has to understand that these things are way important, because once your functionality is stable with one single user, but you are not testing the actual things with the more and more load testing and the performance testing point of view or security testing point of view, that may cause a big blunder in future on production with the customer, so that you're losing the business and you're losing the money also in that case. So yeah, it's very very important to invest on the security testing as well. Yeah, so Thank you. Thanks again, Sanket, asking for some really good questions. So, with this note, you want to add something, Ori, at the end? Then we can just finish it and wrap it up.
If any of you had a support question, please contact the support channel, and we're happy to help you.
Great. So, thank you so much, Ori, once again. And then,
Thank you very much.
so much your CEO and author Uzbek. So just to a quick short note that we just prepared this and then such a good value addition. I think that was going to help the QA community a lot for the security testing point of view. And then as a QA point of view, people get more confidence that okay, yeah, now we are starting contributing for the security test. So that's very important for our portfolio, for our learning, and for our contribution for the quality in the team. That is where people were actually lacking in the QA. And with this thing, I think that's a really great job. Once again, thank you so much for this.
Thank you very much, Naveen.
Okay, so guys, we will see you soon in the next live, and till then, take care and God bless you. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye all.